Hey, good afternoon and welcome to the channel. So I want you to imagine with me here. You have decided that you want to farm. Or homestead, whatever scale that may be, you've decided you want to farm. And maybe you're moving to a new area, maybe you've just bought this farm, maybe you have no idea, you don't know where to start, you don't know where your resources are, or maybe you've been in your area for a while and you've never really done anything agriculture before, but you want to start. I would like to share with you, take you through some of the things that we use on the regular, that we need on the regular, and just talk you through how to go about finding those things in your area. I'm pretty qualified to talk about this because as you know, if you've been watching the vlog at all, we set up a new farm every 2.5 to 3 years. I'm going to take you around the farm, show you a few things, and we'll talk about where you might find those things. So this here you see, this is sawdust. What we use this for is bedding for our animals in the stalls, specifically when they're in the stalls. Obviously when they're outside, they don't need any sawdust, any bedding material. What this does though is it absorbs the urine, it helps the manure, the poop, if you will, to clump together, makes it much easier to clean, makes it smell better in there, and there's actually quite a bit of cedar in this, so it does keep the fly population in the barn down some. You can always buy this at Tractor Supply, okay? Or Big R, whatever the farm store is in your area will have bagged sawdust. And that's fine. If that's what you use, that's fine. I find it's more economical to get larger loads, especially if you have a place to keep it. But almost everywhere we've been, and we've had animals inside the barn, sawdust is what I've gone with. Straw, I honestly think it's better for composting, but it is such a bear to clean. Straw, unless you have a really good source for it, can get pretty spendy. I got this entire load, this is my dump trailer, but I got this entire load for 150 bucks, and in some places you can get it for even cheaper. I've been some places where I got an entire trailer load for like 30 bucks. So that's what you want. But I have almost always found this on Craigslist. If you just type into Craigslist, go to Farm and Garden, and just type in sawdust, almost everywhere I've been has a place or somebody who's selling sawdust. If that doesn't work, then my recommendation, the other way I found it, is one, driving around and just seeing signs, but two, talking to people who have horses in your area. This is very popular among people who have horses to have sawdust bedding, so I would talk to people that you know have horses, especially people who have a few horses, because they will be looking to save money where they can, because horses aren't cheap to own, and they will almost always have some source of sawdust that they can point you to that is bulk and not just in the bags. So that's one thing. Let's go to the next. Now when I open this, there's going to be probably 3 bale that fall out on me. Let's go with 5 bale that are going to fall out on me. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bale fell out on me. So this is hay, okay? We have horses and we have cattle that eat hay. We had goats before and they ate hay as well. I will tell you how we came about this particular hay. We have a farm store that's local, and the folks who own it actually live local. When you go into those agricultural stores, those ag supply stores, whether that be a chain or a locally owned one, check out the classified board. There will always be one. Always. Just peruse it every time you go in there. There might be something you don't need, but a lot of times people who have things, they'll write what they have, and then they'll have little tabs that you can pull off with their phone number. Just grab those and catalog it away somewhere, however you like to organize yourself. Pearl is running the chickens around. That's pretty fun. When we brought the horses back last year, we were looking for a good source of hay, and obviously we had the goats then too. Went in there, was just talking, and I asked him, if he had a good source of hay, and that's how I got in contact with this hay. This guy sells this to me. If it's a brand new cut, it's $3.50 a bale. If it's a little older, it's $2.50 a bale. So it's really inexpensive for this area. And he's a dairy, so he hays his own fields and feeds it to his dairy cows all winter long. I think he has about 60 head of dairy cows. You want to look at your hay, what you're looking for, at least what I look for. Are there any really thick, is there a lot of stemmy thickness? Is there a lot of woody stuff? Are there a lot of weeds? You want mostly leafy grass. I know you can't see that from there, but that's what you want. And I will say this, if you find a good hay person, stick with that person, because what will happen is they will learn what it is that you go through in a year. And if you're a good customer and you always pay, right there when you're getting the hay, you help, you're not, whiny about stuff. And when I say whiny, like if you get a load of moldy hay, you need to say something, because most guys, they'll want to know anyway, because they don't want to leave you that way. But if there's, a bale or two that just, had a little dust in it or something like that, don't whine about that kind of stuff. Hay, it's a mix of art and science, and guys do it a long time before they get it right. So if you find somebody who bales more good bales than they do bad bales, stick with them. They will learn exactly what you need, and they will be there for you, and they will make sure that you get what you need. Don't buy a bunch the first time. Buy 2 or 3 bale from them. Make sure your stock will eat it, and then go back and buy, whatever it is you need. So that's hay. Let's move on to something else. So this here is feed, grain. Here in New York, what we've been doing is just simply buying our what little grain we do buy from Tractor Supply Company. They have, especially nowadays, they have a lot of different options. If you're super concerned about organics and that sort of thing, sorry kitty, they have organic options. Now I will tell you that there's not a whole lot of accountability when it comes to buying organics from a huge chain store like that. So I will tell you, buy it based upon your own research. I'm sure that you can Google those companies that sell their organics through Tractor Supply and find out all kinds of information, and if that is sufficient for you, then that's sufficient for you. We aren't worried about feeding the horses organics really, because we don't eat any of their byproducts. Now you may say, well, their manure is going out on your ground and you want your ground to be as organic as possible, and I will say yes. We have not found any local mills to support in that way. So we're just progress over perfection. We're just not, that's something my brother-in-law says all the time, progress over perfection. And that's a good thing to remember. You can't always be exactly what you want to be in the end. Sometimes you just have to do a little bit better today. And so for right now, we just get our feed from Tractor Supply. We feed the grain, and we use, it's a really good grain. It's called Blue Seal feeds. They have, probiotics in them, and our horses do great on it. I'm trying to remember the feed I used to use, but it's not coming to mind right now. If I think of it, I'll put it like right here. So that's the horse. We also get some alfalfa cubes for the cow. We feed her no grain. She's completely grass fed. So between the hay and the alfalfa cubes we get, and again, that's not optimal. I would rather get some organic alfalfa for her, and all that does is it just kind of increases her milk a little bit. We don't want to push her body to the limit because there can be adverse reactions when you give, especially a dairy animal, grains and you push their bodies to the limit in terms of production, because then they're pouring all of that energy into milk production, and you keep taking from them, and they wind up having structural issues. And so far, Pearl didn't have milk fever this time. If you don't know what milk fever is, Google it. It's common among high-producing dairy breeds, and Jerseys are very high-producing dairy breeds. So they will make milk at the cost to their body. So she just gets grass. And the other thing is, we do keep some grains for chicken, and we do buy the organics from Tractor Supply for that. They have a couple different brands that they sell for the organics. I've tried both of them. Chickens don't care. Chickens aren't picky. So really, we just buy whichever one is cheaper at the time, to be honest with you. And that's just most of the chicken's diet comes from eating the bugs and stuff around here. And there's actually times, especially early spring, where we don't feed them anything in terms of grain but the scraps we get from the house, because we put all those scraps into the compost pile, and the chickens go into the compost pile, scratch it out, and eat it. But what we have found ourselves doing lately is we'll give them a little bit of grain in the morning when Bernadette comes out to milk, and we'll spread it over a few of the cow patties out in the pasture, just to get them scratching through there and spreading it out so it is more evenly spread across the ground, to more evenly feed the ground, that good organic stuff, and also to scratch out any fly larvae to help keep our fly population down. Because as the summer has worn on, the flies have decided to show up. They were doing really well in the beginning, and now they just showed up in force. So that certainly helps. Little story, Bernadette's video impulse purchases, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it, but she talked about how she had put the chickens in the coop when we got those new ones, and we'd had them in there for a few days just to get them acclimated to knowing where to come back to at night. You only have to do it for a few days, because chickens will come back once they're used to it being like their house. Chickens will come back at night, every night. When the sun starts to go down, they're like, oh, bedtime, and they come right back to where they associate as home. So she put them in there, and I will tell you what, that maybe week that she had them in there, our fly population went through the roof. You would not believe. There is a marked difference in between having the chickens out and not having the chickens out. So it works, let me tell you. So that's the feed. What I will say we've done in the past, when we've had, especially in North Carolina, we had a organic feed mill called Reedy Fork Feeds in North Carolina, and they actually do ship all over the place. If you're wanting to get a bunch of grain in, or they have all different kinds of feeds, you can get with them, and they will ship to you. But what we did, we didn't have to go very often, so about every 6 weeks or so, we would just take the truck, we'd drive to Reedy Fork and we'd get all the feeds we needed at Reedy Fork and then drive back home and unload it. So that was great. That was great to have something that close where we could go get what we wanted, be able to see the farm that most of the grains were grown on, and know that, hey, okay, these people say they're organic, and you know, I can look around and I can see that there's no bulk storage of chemicals for them to spray their fields. I can talk to these people and see them face to face. So that was great. But if you can't do that, there's a couple more we've used when we were in Alabama. We ordered from New Country Organics out of Virginia. There was also a Coyote Creek out of Texas. At the time, they did not ship to where we were in Alabama, but I think they've kind of grown since then, and they ship a lot more places. So Coyote Creek out of Texas is a well-known organic mill. New Country Organics out of Virginia, and Reedy Fork out of North Carolina. So if you live, you know, on the eastern side or, you know, out Texas way, you can get some organic feeds from them. The thing about that is, if you can't go get it like we did in North Carolina, and why we don't do it right now, because like I said, we'd love to have the organic grains for what we do feed grain for, is we don't use enough of it to justify buying a ton. And if you can't buy a ton, then it's really expensive, because basically a ton is about 40 bags, and most places they'll let you mix and match that however you want to. But if you can't get that in, like, you know, right now we don't use enough of it to justify buying a whole pallet, a whole ton, so we just don't do it. When we do broilers again, we will definitely be ordering the pallets of feed, because we'll go through it then, and we won't have to wait. That's another thing about organics. It's just like anything. You want it as fresh as you can. As fresh as you can get it. So the same is true of your feeds. The fresher it is, the better it is for the animals. So we want to be able to order it, and within, you know, 8 or 9 weeks, we want to run out. We don't want to have it all winter long. We'll move on to another item. Hey, so what I'm standing on right here, this is wood chips. I want to talk about wood chips because wood chips make a great weed barrier for your garden, especially if you, I'll talk about this too while I'm here, especially if you get a bunch of cardboard and you put it down underneath, it'll make it a great weed barrier for your garden. You can probably look through here and see some weeds, but it would be a whole lot worse if we just dug this up. This one right here, this garden bed right here, was a no-dig garden bed, and we watched Charles Dowding. He's British. I think he's British. He talks like he's British. But you can find him on YouTube, Charles Dowding, and he does no-dig gardens. So we kind of followed his model. We didn't dig this one. We got cardboard, and we put a bunch of cardboard down, and then we put these wood chips down on top. So let's talk wood chips. I'll tell you a couple different options for getting wood chips quickly. So anytime you see a Splenda or any kind of commercial tree service, you know, drive by your house where they're going through and they're cleaning up limbs, maybe for the power company, whatever that may be, just stop and talk to them. Say, hey, where do you dump your wood chips if you want wood chips? Where do you dump your wood chips? And most of the time they'll tell you. And if they have a load on right there, they might just stop and dump it for you. We got 9 huge loads of wood chips when we were in North Carolina by talking to the commercial service that was coming through after Hurricane Matthew. They stopped by our house and asked if we wanted them to take a few problem limbs down while they were there. We said, sure, go for it. And then Bernadette asked them, because I was at work, Bernadette asked them, hey, what are you doing with those wood chips? And I think I called her and said, hey, these guys are out here cleaning up. If you get a chance to, ask them what they're doing with those wood chips. So she did. She asked them what they're doing with the wood chips, and they said, you know, we're actually looking for places to dump them. And we were like, hey, right there out back, you know that 17 acres back there doesn't have anything in it? Anywhere you want to dump them out there, whatever is easiest for you. And we got 9 huge piles for free. So I would check with that. If you don't want to wait, and call the power company. because the power companies have contracts with people who keep limbs off of their power lines. Ask them who has their contract and a contact for the people who have the contract to ask them where they dump in your area. And then just put your name on the list and say, hey, I want to open my place up for you to dump some wood chips. I need some. I guess city directorates of public works, they will pick up yard debris from people, and they have those chippers and stuff that they run it through. So just find out where the local yard waste is. And here, this is where we got ours actually. They keep it next to one of the local parks. They just pile it up, and it's, you know, it's free. You can just come get it. And what I did was, once I got my dump trailer, I took my tractor down there to the park, unloaded my tractor, filled my dump trailer full of wood chips. I live like a mile from the park where it's at. Brought the trailer back here, dumped the wood chips, went back and got my tractor and came back, and Bernadette stayed, because it's the park, Bernadette stayed there with the kids and watched the tractor while the kids played at the park while I did that. So that's another way. The municipalities, your local city, find out. The only thing I will say about that is you have no idea. You have no idea with both of those options what people are spraying on their trees. So again, what we've done is we've just chosen progress over perfection, and I trust that most folks around here, because it's a pretty country area, they're not spraying their trees that are next to the road where these guys are coming through and chopping the power lines. Not chopping the power lines, but chopping the trees that are touching the power lines. Nobody's spraying those. Really, the biggest thing is the city ones, because people do spray the trees that are in their yard if they want to. So if you're concerned about that, then you might want to go a different route. Another option is there's actually a website called Chip Drop. I've had my name on that since like 2017, and I haven't got a single call through that. So some people have had good luck with that. It's another option for you if you just want any way you can get chips, any way you can get that carbon material. I mean, it can't hurt. Put your name in the chip drop. You just have to register, put your address in, tell them where you want it dropped, kind of give a description of where you want it dropped on your property, and if they have somebody in the area, they will drop it, and there's an option in there where you can say, hey, I'll pay this much for a load, or no, I just want free. So I just wanted free. So maybe people who are willing to pay get more attention than people who aren't. And then the cardboard, let me talk the cardboard really quick. Obviously, especially if you live in a military community like we do, people are moving in and out all the time. So just keep your eye out, have a place where you can store cardboard if you're going to do no-dig gardens, and just collect it. A lot of times if you go to Craigslist in the free section, you'll find boxes. So just drive out there and get their boxes for them, and then you have free cardboard to put down for your no-dig beds. What I did at Tractor Supply Company, and really at any store, just ask them, hey, say, what do you do with your cardboard? Your local grocery store, what do you do with your cardboard? From the local grocery store, they gave them to me for free. But the problem was there wasn't a whole lot of them, and they weren't very big boxes, so it took a lot to cover an area. Tractor Supply, though, they get all of those huge things in, so they got some humongous boxes. I paid $50, and they gave me one of those ginormous bales. And then, so the thing about that is, those bales are huge. So if you don't have a tractor to unload it out of your truck with, you aren't picking those up. I mean, it would take several large men to pick up a pallet of those bales. They're huge. But that is an option if you do have a tractor, or you have a forklift, a way to get it unloaded, or you have a trailer where it can just sit in the trailer until you've gone through all the cardboard. Then that is an option. But so those are a couple free options and small price to pay options for cardboard and for wood chips. Let's go to, I want to say, the last thing. Hey, so last thing, if you plan to garden at all, you want to put compost manure to good use. If you're just getting started out and you haven't been able to save your own scraps, your own manure from your livestock, there are options out there. One, again, Craigslist. There are people who have compost and sell it in bulk on Craigslist. Another option is you can go to the farm stores and you can buy the bagged compost if you want to. The same guy I got the phone number for at the farm store for our hay, I told you that that gentleman has a farm here a mile down the road from us too. And he has cattle. He has cattle poop sitting in the pasture that's been sitting there aging for a year or better. He offered to let us have some of that if we just come down and get it. And so I have a tractor and I have a dump trailer, so I went down there and got it. And sometimes you can find people like that, you know, who would deliver it to your house for free or for a small fee. Which brings me to my last point as we stand here next to the manure pile, which doesn't stink really because it has all that carbon material that is breaking down, so it doesn't really smell that bad. The name of this game is Kindness Goes a Long Way. Just talking to people. And I'll tell you right now, like, this is not something that I have to even try hard at. Like, I like talking to people who are of the agriculture frame of mind. It's not hard for me to strike up a conversation with, you know, when I'm buying equipment online or something like that. I talk to the person, hey, how many acres you have here? How long you all lived around here? And then you start to think, hey, they have really good hay. I like the look of that hay. Hey, where do you get your hay from? Or hey, I'm fixing to build stalls in my barn. I see that you have some nice stalls in your barn. Who built your stalls? Where did you get your lumber from? So really, that's what I'm always doing. I'm always talking to people who like to do the same things that I like to do. And when I'm talking to those people, it just comes up in conversation. Like I just say, hey, where did you get that? Or, hey, how do you like how that piece of equipment is working out for you? And people that are in the agrarian community, they really do. They love to help each other out. They love to help each other. They love to talk about their new toys. They love to talk about their good sources, their good resources that they have. And they will share stuff with you. Again, I will reiterate, if you're starting out in a new place, or you're for the first time getting into anything agrarian and you're looking for resources, kindness is what goes a long way. Talk to people everywhere you go. Look for the billboards in the farm stores. You will find what you need. And if you don't, hit me up in the comments. I likely have looked for almost anything that you're looking for, and I'll give you some good advice, or at least my advice. It may or may not be good advice. I'll give you my advice for how to go about getting that thing that you want, or that thing that you need. Hey, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share, comment. Y'all have a blessed day.